how is the mask and vulnerability, how are they connected? So if you're like me, pre-transition, you probably wore a mask that protected the inside person. And now, for many of us, that meant um, being taking up masculine activities, working out, joining the military, working in construction. There's so many. um, and when we did those things, we did what we thought we had to do. We put on that mask every day, probably put on a uniform. For me, it was a t shirt and jeans, my boy clothes uniform. It was what I had to put on to play the role, I guess. Um, and when I was playing that role, you know, doing all the things that I thought I had to do to fit into being a boy, even though I knew it was inauthentic, but did it for 40 years, 40 more than 40 years. But when you wear the mask, mask, um, we don't have much vulnerability. You couldn't make fun of me about the mask before because it didn't impact me. It didn't. So there was. I didn't. It didn't hurt. I guess you could say. And so there was very, very little vulnerability in that. And I think the reason that is obviously because I didn't care. It wasn't me anyways. So of course I still had a lot of vulnerability, but it wasn't about that mask. And that's why I made sure that people didn't see the real me pre-transition, because if they did and they made fun of that vulnerability, I would have crawled into a hole and died, right? And so, for example, some of the things that I did allow myself, for example, I would have like girly drinks, a pina colada, a strawberry daiquiri at the bar. While my friends were taking shots of scotch. And I just couldn't stomach the scotch. But anyways, and I found it disgusting. But anyways, or I would wear like tight jeans. And it was like something that I allowed myself. They were still boy jeans, still an alcoholic beverage, but it wasn't it wasn't a real vulnerability. And when people did say, "You ordered a strawberry daiquiri," I'd be like, "Yeah, I can't really drink alcohol," or "Yeah, I like the way these jeans make my legs look," and like thinking that it was a masculine thing because I was like into bodybuilding and all that other stuff. So there's very little real vulnerability pre-transition, and then we start transitioning. And now it's a really, really big question as we start shedding the mask. And this is a really, really difficult part of transitioning because you're trying to figure out what is the mask and what is the authentic parts of self. And what is societally determined masculinity, and what parts of those things have nothing to do with gender and are actually just parts of yourself that you like to do. For example, I still drive like I'm a very aggressive driver. And do I drive like a boy or do I drive like Victoria? I don't know. Does driving have a gender? Does brushing your teeth have a gender? I don't know. Anyways, obviously not. But point being, as you start shedding the mask and start stepping into the more authentic version of yourself, you have to start asking yourself these really difficult questions like, what is me and what is the mask? And how do you do it? Like, how do you start doing this thing? You've never done it before. And, one of my favorite lines is, I didn't transition to become a girl. I transitioned to be myself. It just happens to be that I'm a girl, right? And so that part of self and stepping into authenticity is really about testing and seeing what feels right. And as you start, changing your clothes and changing your pronouns and choosing a new name and living your life as the real you, now there's this gender euphoria that comes from that. It's amazing. You start actually feeling like yourself. But then there's this really almost unintended thing that also happens. And what is it? All of a sudden, you have vulnerability. this vulnerability is something that we have not had the mechanisms for dealing with. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God, I want to be pretty. I want to do this. I want to wear those clothes. I want to be this person. And now, of course, I have this gender euphoria from feeling it, but now I also have this intense vulnerability. And there's this fear and anxiety of, stepping out as yourself. And then on top of that, that's compounded by the fact that, those first few years are pretty awkward. You're still learning how to be you. And as you start shedding those masks and you start stepping into yourself, it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. And there is no rule book, there is no guide, there is no how to become, a trans girl. It's ridiculous. That's a preposterous thought. Why? Because this isn't a journey of becoming some random trans person. It's about becoming you. And that you is totally different than everyone else. I was talking to one of our clients, and she asked me this question, and she's like, what is success for you? And like, what is the transition success? And I was like, well, that's an interesting question. I said, well, for me, it was being more me, the better version of myself. Tomorrow, I want to be a slightly better version of me, more in tune, more connected to self. My transition is in effect over, but my growth isn't. And I continue to move towards more of that, right? So we're taking up DJing, we're starting to do, work in clubs and do all that stuff and making our own music and all of this stuff. Is DJing a boy or a girl thing? That's so stupid, right? Of course, it's just me leaning into my passions and all that other stuff. So as you become more vulnerable, how do you address this? Because, of course, the fear is to put the mask back on. And that obviously didn't take us to the places we wanted to go in the first place. It was the opposite of what we were trying to do, which was becoming ourselves. And that tendency is a really, really difficult one because we want to shed the mask, but at what pace? How? How do we find out what's mask and what's not and all that other stuff? And my advice was, I guess maybe because of my ADHD, I have no idea, but I mean, I love novelty. I love newness. I'm an experience chaser, you could call me. And so I was always kind of, what's next? You know, I'm never okay with stagnation and, the status quo. I always wanted to know what's the next thing for me. As I step into more and more of myself, I always kind of want to do more. And it's never in stagnation, and routine is terrible for me. I fucking absolutely hate it. So shedding the mask kind of comes with this vulnerability that comes with it. What I will tell you is, what I suggest is to lean into it. Lean into that discomfort. Lean into the vulnerability. The only way to the other side is through it. And so that sounds so difficult. How do you lean into the vulnerability? Surround yourself with people you love, try and do it in a safe way, of course, but at the same time, you know, death by a thousand cuts, or, one good shot, but in a good way. This vulnerability, what you will end up doing is you'll actually end up realizing that, it's where the real growth happens. That real growth of becoming that next best version of yourself, it comes from that vulnerability, because that's how you find out who the real person is, who the real version is. And guess what's going to happen as well? You're going to step in, you're going to try things. You're going to be like, well, I'm going to try this thing. And you're going to try doing it. And you'll be like, well, that definitely wasn't right. Right. And that's fine too. Uh, Sometimes a lesson is what not to do. Sometimes a lesson is something that doesn't fit. That doesn't mean anything. One of my favorite analogies these days is the pinball analogy, and kind of says that I have this idea that I want to get to that spot over there, but I don't exactly know how to get there. Guess what? There is probably not a straight line there, but the pinball hits a target and it pivots. And each time it pivots, each time it bounces off another experience or another, you know, that ringer, it bounces, bounces, bounces. And each time you do it, you learn. You learn either it's a good experience and you take it, or it's a learning experience. And that is how you kind of keep moving forward. Um, Eventually, the ball hits enough things, and you use the fingers and you keep popping it up. Eventually, you'll find yourself in the place that you wanted to go, or in a better place, a place that you never envisioned for yourself. So, this vulnerability is the thing. It is the thing not to shy away from. It's actually the thing to lean into, because now you're seeing who the real person is. And the more you do, the more experiences you try, the more things that you are really leaning into, the more likely you will actually find it. You'll find more and more of her, not the other way around. So I have this whole idea with vibrations and resonance and energy and all of this stuff. And it's kind of like the more you do, the more vibrations you create. And eventually the noise gets louder. And then you start bringing things to you. The opportunity presents itself. And because you are in that mindset of growth and searching and leaning into vulnerability, you see, not only do you see the opportunity, but you seize it. And that becomes your new modus operandi. You are an experience seeker. You are a person who is looking for you. I'm getting a tattoo, hopefully soon, and it is forever walking towards myself. All it means is that this journey doesn't end until I'm dead. Hopefully, that doesn't happen for a very long time, because I have a lot of raves to go to, and I have a lot more shit to do, and a lot more life to live. So, if that's you and you are in this